This is Dave Arnold, your host of Cooking Issues, coming to you live from the heart of Manhattan, Rockefeller Center, New York City, Newsstand Studios. No John today because John's in Belgium. Kicking it in Belgium, getting me some fancy mustard. But I do have Joe Hazen rocking the panels. What's up?
What's shaking? I'm excited for that mustard.
Yeah, mustard. And over there on the West Coast, we got Nastasia the Hammer Lopez. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Got Jackie Molecules. We gotta get molecular early in the show because he's only going to be here for half of it. So what's up, Monsieur Le Molecule?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, you feeling better?
Yeah. It turns out that I'm going to end up needing my wisdom teeth taken out. That's been one of the culprits here of like this mystery sinus ear thing that I've been going through.
Okay, listen. Get the good painkillers. They're gonna.
They only do it that way.
What?
They only do it that way. The way you got it done is insane. They only give you
That's
the
not
good
true.
painkillers.
That's just not true. I don't know. That's just not the case. I went
to an.
No. I got half of my wisdom teeth taken out 20 years ago, and I got half taken out 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, right before the pandemic, and 5 years ago. And it's like, it's still the situation that they're like, well, I could give you the good stuff, but it's going to be an extra $600. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Pay it.
That's what I'm saying. Pay it.
Jeez.
Pay it. Here's what I'm going to tell you right now. Pay it. The other thing they're going to do is they're going to try to convince you to do it in stages. Let's do 2 now and 2 later. Why? In case you have a bad reaction. Well, what?
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Get them all out.
Get them all out. Because you could have a bad reaction both times.
There's only 2 left.
Okay, all right, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah. Miserable, though.
You do not want to be sitting there watching them rip those things out, man. It's just not how it goes.
Ugh, no.
I will pay $600 anytime I go to the doctors if I can be like put out with good drugs. You know, if I were rich, if I were super rich, yeah.
Well, if I was super rich, like my idea, right? Well, like if you're super rich, I guess you fly private. But Anesthesia Airways is the money idea, right?
Wow.
You know,
that is a money idea.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You get on.
He put me out for like half of the things I have to do in life. You know.
Yeah. And they're like, well, but what if there's an accident? No. You know what I mean? No. I'll sign a waiver. How about that? You know what I mean? Well, please. Yeah.
Yeah. You could have Prince and Michael Jackson's face on the outside as the ambassadors.
Yeah. Get this though, right? Because like if any of you have ever been lucky enough to have a colonoscopy, you know what I mean? Like when you wake up, like even though you're only out for a little bit, you feel great. Imagine if you landed and you didn't have to go through the feelings of being in that tube for hours and hours and hours, and instead you woke up incredibly refreshed. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Unbelievable. And they could stack you like cordwood because you're out. You know what I mean? Anyway, you'd have plenty of room for your carry-on. Yeah, just stack you up. Who cares? You know what I mean? Anyways, Quinn in the upper left, what's up?
Hey, I'm good.
Yeah? Nice. Yeah, wisdom teeth, the whole thing. How old are you now, Jack?
39.
Yeah. I was like, they tried to convince you when you're really young to get your wisdom teeth out. Did they do this to you?
They did, but mine were straight, so it was never like needed. You know, it was like we could, but you don't have to. And I was like, well, if I don't have to, then I won't.
Ding.
It just causes so many problems later.
Yeah, right. Well, no, but that's the thing. It's going to be problems getting it out, right? So they're like, if you don't get them out now and go through this horrible thing right now, what's going to happen? Well, maybe you'll need to take them out later. You're like, okay, later then. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anyway.
Easy choice.
Easy choice. If the choice is, oh, you may have to have them out later, yeah. No, preemptive wisdom teeth taken out, please. Used car salespeople. No offense to used car salespeople. Anyway, what's up? What do you guys got this week? What's good?
I've been sick, so I've been miserably, trying to just be healthy and eat salads and drink smoothies. I don't know.
See, that was your mistake.
I've had a miserable food week.
That was your mistake. Trying to like salad your way out of feeling bad. Like,
well, I just don't think that Jack, you can't take away like years of abuse and then 5 days you're like, I'm going to switch to salads and smoothies and it's going to make it all better.
Yeah.
That's what I tried to do. Yeah, I'm not drinking any alcohol. Like
that's invalid. Yeah. First of all, there's no such thing as there's no such thing as detoxing. That's not a thing. That's fake. You know what I'm saying? I want to start a bunch of spas for retoxing, right? If people actually believe that they can somehow detox. This is kind of like goes back to people used to think that, like, I don't know, that your intestines were some kind of crazy cave system where, like, evil sentient food beasties could like hide out forever, and you needed to like clean them out via like weird, like, this is like 1800s, even beforehand, crazy food nonsense, and it's still kind of lives till today with this idea that somehow your body isn't constantly processing whatever you're eating and that you can quote unquote detox. You know what I mean? Please. Like, what's the basis of this? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, like, obviously, there's certain poisons, certain things you can eat that take a while to leave your body. There are things that you are physiologically dependent on that take several days to work their way out. I'm thinking caffeine headaches, alcohol, et cetera, et cetera. But in general, I mean, it's not like, it's not like, like Nastasia says, you can undo a billion years of being a human being by eating salad. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah.
Also,
Retox is a great name for like a energy drink.
Yeah, Retox, or like a metal band. You know what I mean?
Or a liquor brand.
Well, we can get it. We can do the band and the liquor brand at the same time. But like, what kind? Not like Norwegian death metal. Does anyone actually like Norwegian death metal? Like anybody?
In small doses, I guess.
Like how small? Like a whole song?
Yeah.
Like one song.
Like one song, yeah.
Okay.
I saw Godflesh has a new record out.
Yeah?
Yeah, it sounded pretty good.
Half of the actual Norwegian death metal people are in jail for murdering people, right?
Oh, that's legit.
Or not, right? Like, anyway. Or not. But, all right. So, Retox Up. I'm a firm believer, and I have no data. So let me just say I have no data to back up what I'm about to say. So it is probably completely false. However, I firmly believe that if you eat things that make you feel good about being alive, that you will probably end up having less stress and a better day, and then overall be more healthy. You know what I'm saying?
I like that theory.
Yeah. Could be false, but it's what I'm going to go with. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Anyway. All right. Well, so if you didn't eat, what about you, Stas? What's on the food front for Nastasia the Hammer Lopez?
Oh, I don't think I ate anywhere special.
Oh, yeah? What's your current, I'm going to cook dinner tonight and I have 15 minutes and I don't want to worry about it?
Whole Foods sells these like pre-seasoned chicken things, and then I do frozen broccoli and a bag of rice that's already been cooked.
Okay, hold up.
How sad is that?
What's the sad schmad? Like, in what format are they? The beaten up looking pieces of chicken that look kind of like whitish that are in a plastic container?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And when you reheat those, because I'm assuming you're reheating them. Although, listen, I'm sure those things are fine in a Cobb salad. Cobb salad. Speaking of, God's, that's a God salad right there. That's a God level salad, the Cobb salad. I'm sure they're fine in a Cobb salad. Do they reheat okay, or do they get dry and nasty?
Oh wait, no, these are raw. These are raw chicken that's been pre-seasoned.
Oh. Are they? Is it slightly acidic or just salt sugar base?
There's a bunch of different flavors, but mostly salt based, not sugar.
Right. So they're not mushy. They haven't gotten like that acid mush.
No.
No, that's fine. What's wrong with that? I mean, frozen broccoli is fine. I tell you what, it's better than a frozen Brussels sprout. Frozen Brussels sprouts are maybe you can use a frozen Brussels sprout in scenarios where you're not eating the Brussels sprout by itself. If you're chumming it up into a pasta, let's say, right? Or something like this. But like, they just don't have the right texture. Whereas like frozen broccoli, I feel can be fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
What else sucks frozen? I mean, the best frozen stuff is what? Corn and peas, right? Corn and peas.
Yeah.
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 Peas are number one.
Yeah, because like you can't get a good pea. In fact, when I buy fresh peas, like half the time I'm like, oh yeah, fresh peas, and half the time I'm like, ugh, starch bombs, garbage. You know what I mean? Like a frozen pea,
Yeah.
it's a good. Although, is anyone on earth good at having them not be wrinkly? They come out, you cook them, they're perfect, and then they cool, and they get all wrinkly, and you're like, how can I not do this? What is wrong with me? Like I'm 54 now. I just turned 54, and Miley made me a chicken pot pie. And then my niece Ellery carved an incredibly accurate hand-carved a piece of pastry that says Days 54. And she put the apostrophe in, and I was like, nice use. I like the apostrophe. She's like, I wasn't going to do it, but my dad Wiley forced me to. I was like, well, good call, Dad. The apostrophe. I notice things like this, the apostrophe. By the way, Miley makes a really good chicken pot pie. And chicken pot pie is a good product. If you eat chicken pot pie is a great product. You know what I'm saying? She's also made turkey pot pie. Good product. Great product. I would have to say I would enjoy possibly a pork pot pie. I've never had one. I know a beef pot pie would be good. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is a pot pie is a good product. Wait, what were we talking about, though? We were talking about frozen things that were good. What else is good? What's bad?
I mean, a lot of fruit is bad if you care about the texture.
Yeah, if you want the fruit to be raw, it's garbage. But if you're going to cook it anyway, then, it's often better to buy frozen than to buy trash fresh. You know what I mean? Cheaper, better, more consistent, like the $6 Million Man. Better, stronger, faster. But what else is terrible? They are terrible fresh. I always keep frozen blueberries because I mix them into my pancakes. That's probably my largest use case for frozen fruit, other than at the bar. Limas aren't very good. A fresh lima is so good, and a frozen lima starts to get that pasty action. I don't know. I have to think about it. But we can all agree frozen broccoli. So it's frozen broccoli, the seasoned chicken strips. Are they tenders or are they cut from thigh meat or breast or what?
Unfortunately, they're breast.
Yeah. All right. Wah, wah. Anyway, I actually cooked chicken breast last night. Last night, I did my chicken saltimbocca. I haven't made actual veal saltimbocca in probably 2.5 decades because I just make it exclusively with chicken now. But it's actually a really good, quick dinner. You know what I mean? Like, it's so fast. You just beat the hell out of it. You just take your chicken, you cut it out. I like thigh, but my wife actually prefers me to do the breast. You cut it out thin, salt, a little bit of sugar, pepper, both sides, plastic wrap over it, beat the hell out of it till it's flat as anything. Then sage, prosciutto, flour that thing. I use a little meat glue just to keep the prosciutto stuck on it. You know what I mean? Because I used to use toothpicks. I hate the toothpicks. I hate toothpicks. Hate them. In the meat, hate it. Also, it stops it from touching the pan properly. Then you butter it up and then, a little lemon, a little, deglaze it with, a little sweet wine or whatever. Nice. Good weekday meal. That's what I had last night. Anyway, so chicken, rice. You use the pre-cooked rice? Brown, white, unflavored?
The one in the back, like the jasmine. It depends. I switch it up.
But they make pre-cooked frozen white rice?
No. They do pre-cooked, non-frozen, in the aisle rice.
What?
In a bag.
And it's already cooked?
Yes.
How the hell do they do that?
Yeah, I have that a lot with they've got Korean brands of cups of pre-cooked rice. Those are quite good, actually.
Well, how do they make it? I'm gonna have to do some research.
I don't know
I
don't know how they're able to have it in a bag, shelf stable, but there must be something in the bag that's not creating botulism.
Well, be serious. Bacillus.
I mean, there's no.
Is it microwave?
There's no.
And they're not hard, and they retherm nice, and they get fluffy as though they were rice, or are they coated with oil, so it's always semi-fried, free-flowing stuff.
No, not oil, but also doesn't get fluffy. It's just fine. You should really try it. It's really fine. All right. I mean, I thank goodness that I have a rice cooker.
The brands I've tried, it's like a short grain rice, so it's supposed to be a little sticky anyways, so it's good.
Okay. Listen, I'm not gonna poo-poo something I know nothing about. You know what I mean? I gotta test it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really go to Whole Foods anymore, though. Anyway, I'll try. I'll go. I'm sure they have it at my local whatever mart. What about you, Quinn? What have you been cooking this last week?
Oh boy, I've got multiple things. I got out one of my experimental guanciales. So, one of my recent guanciale experiments, my usual sort of seasoning base, and then I actually cured it in a vacuum bag with a little bit of sage essential oil.
Okay, why?
I looked up, I want sage flavor.
Okay, but why not just use sage? Why the essential oil?
Well, again, I find that when I've done spices or even spice extracts on the surface of something at least like a guanciale, that the flavor never really penetrates the protein.
There's also a well-known phenomenon of in vacuum bags of spice burn, where it's not actually burn, but what happens is the whole leaves will make an imprint and then put a weird color mark on the piece of meat where the spice was, and they'll also leave kind of weird bitter notes right there where the contact point was. You know what I mean? But
yeah. So again, even
essential oils make me nervous because they
when-
don't taste like the actual thing. You know what I mean? Because they are the oil soluble components only. You know what I mean? But I mean, if you like it, you like it. Did you like it?
Well, again, that was sort of the experiment because my thinking was, well, if it's a flavor I like, in theory, if I let it cure for several weeks before the actual drying phase, that some of those, fat-based compounds should diffuse into the fat. You don't think so?
I mean, some, right? Think about it. Think about it this way.
It's a strong substance.
Think about it this way.
So,
When you dry age a piece of meat for weeks, right? All of the fat, most of the oxidation's happening on the outside, and when you trim it away, a lot of that oxidation doesn't penetrate, right? So it's there is some penetration, but diffusion of large molecules through a solid, fat medium is relatively slow, right? So it depends on how long you're going to this is math that someone can do. I mean, I can't do it, but someone can look at the size of the molecules, figure out roughly what the diffusion coefficient of it is, figure out roughly what what it is you're trying to put it through, and figure out how long it would take to penetrate. But my guess is a long time. You know what I'm saying?
well, it did work.
Well, if you want to see really, right, what you should do is get a block of meat, then do whatever you're going to do, and then cut with a very sharp knife, 6 very sharp knives, so you never use the same knife again. Cut off all the sides of it so that you have only a cube in the center of the meat, and taste that. Tell me what it tastes like. You know what I mean? So there's Greg Blonder, who's blog Genuine Ideas. He used to do penetration tests, but on larger molecules like salt. And there he would use indicators to go through. But I don't know. You'd have to figure out an indicator to see how fast the stuff diffuses through. But this is knowable stuff. People work on cured meats all the time. Fidel Todra used to be the world's grand master of cured meat research articles. Anyway, I digress. But you enjoyed the taste of it, or no? Did it taste like sage?
Yeah, it tasted good. It tasted really good, and we were able to try. There's a new local dried pasta brand, so we tried their pasta. It was really good.
What shape? What was good about it?
Macaroni.
Like bent macaroni, like macaroni with a hole in it?
It was sort of
like elbows?
an average, no, not elbows, but sort of a slightly elongated rigatoni.
Okay. All right. I mean, if you just say macaroni to the average person, they're thinking elbows.
Right.
Anyways, I don't really like using essential oils. If you like it, you like it. I've never had a result with an essential oil where I've been like, oh, thank God. Now, I know that, like, for instance, Mike Capoferri over at Thunderbolt and Night on Earth, shout out to them. Like, they like, and a lot of people like to use things like orange essential oils or citrus essential oils instead of expressing peels because you use. Oh, by the way, in a professional bar situation, we go through a boat ton of citrus. So you have to find uses for the solids, the actual fruit, because I go through so many peels. In fact, that's why I started, I came up with acid adjusting because I needed a use for all of the freaking oranges that we had when we were, using orange twists, right? So it is, quote unquote, not quote unquote, it is more like cost effective and sustainable to buy the oranges you want for juice and use those peels for something, but then just spray the citrus oil on. But somehow I need to do a side-by-side with Mike. I was too busy during service to do it, but the next time I'm in LA, Stas, let's go over and do a side-by-side blind. We'll blindfold ourselves. We'll go to Thunderbolt and Night on Earth, and we'll have somebody make the same cocktail with the spritz and with the peel, and the three of us or four of us, Jack, you can come over, five of us, whatever it is, we can do a side-by-side taste and see what we think. You think it's a good idea?
Yeah. Also, for everybody, Dave might be in LA at the end of April.
Maybe.
So get your
LA on.
ready.
And this time, if we do a pop-up with Mike, we will be sure, and I apologize, to make more product because we sold out in like 22 seconds. And Nastasia, who said she was going to be there early and actually help me set up, didn't show up until we were actually out of products. That's what happened last time. And then gave me the stink eye. Probably because they didn't want to tell me, but probably based on last week's show because, like, Nastasia wanted to get something to eat, and then, Jack ordered an extra hand roll, and they couldn't eat it in time to get to the bar. Probably what happened. Just saying.
Wow. I wish I could tell the real story of what happened.
Also, you can bring food into that joint because they don't have a freaking. They don't have food there.
Who wanted to go? That's a great. I have to defend my honor on this one.
Which, on the hand roll or on the other one?
No, I wanted to go on time.
Okay, but what prevented you?
I have no interest. Nastasia wanting food.
Yeah, but she could have had food the whole day. P.S. She had the whole day to get food. We had this one thing we were going to go to. She's like, I'm not going to go all the way over there. I'm not going to wear what I'm wearing now, then go eat, then go home, then get dressed. Yeah. Just get dressed during the day. Go eat near the freaking bar.
No, Dave, it was this. It was driving and drinking here, right? So, like, it was all of the getting to it.
But what it was is that you weren't willing to just be out earlier. You're like, that's going to be like 45 minutes when I'm going to be not at my house and I don't know what I'm going to do. Nope. I won't do it. And so you wouldn't just like get ready to go earlier and Uber over at like 4.
Here's the honest truth.
Okay.
You're only here for like 24 hours. And I was like, hey, Dave, let's go eat, right? Or something. Let's go hang out. And I was like, you don't need, they, like Night on Earth and Thunderbolt, they prep everything. They have their own style. You don't need to be there 3 hours before. Like, why don't you and I hang out?
But you need to go test it. I need to be there. And plus, they want to say hello. They want you to do pre-shift, all these things.
They don't, though, because I don't think that like, bartenders that fly in, they, like, show up right when the event starts and they go. Like, so I didn't want to sit around while you're testing and making jokes.
Based on what? Based on what? How long have you known me?
17 years.
And when have we ever, with the stuff that we do, when have we ever, in 17 years, when have we ever been able to just walk into a place and do something?
Mike, by this time, has, like, he perfects everything for you.
Yeah, but we still need to get together, get on the same page, and taste it all and figure out what's going on when there's time to adjust it.
3 hours.
If it wasn't
before,
Mike,
though,
it would be a day early. I would have to go in a day early, and like half the stuff wouldn't work. Like, with Mike, I only have to go in like an hour and a half early, check it all up, and then I could have walked out and got something to eat, but I couldn't because you weren't there. Also, Mike wanted to get something to eat.
But Mike was running around.
Sounds like they should have food there.
I know.
Sounds like they should have food.
I know there's one guy who I know ate with Mike that day. You know who it was? Me, because I was with Mike.
Yeah.
We went to some place where a bunch of people got murdered, but they had like good food. They had good food, but there's a little bit of a stink on the place because like a bunch of people got murdered in the restaurant. I can't remember the name of it. And they glutenified his food twice. He was like, I can't have gluten anywhere near my food, and they made it. It was delicious, super garlicky, and then they just like dumped a huge pile of pitas on top of his food. So he's like, now I can't eat any of it. So he like had that bagged, and then as a sorry, they gave him a cake made with gluten. Anyway.
It's a murder restaurant.
It's a murder restaurant. Well, I guess they wanted to keep it going. You know what I mean? Like they had some murders there, and then they wanted to keep it going. Oh, speaking of, it's not
murder the chefs.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of murder, P.S. Did you find out this? I'm sure Nastasia doesn't trust it anyway, but did you hear that 23andMe is going bankrupt, and so like no one knows who's going to own your data about your genes? Did you hear
I can
this?
make a guess who might own it.
Delete it now.
Wow.
Delete it now. Delete.
It's all going to Greenland?
Oh, baby.
Oh, man. I don't know. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it. All right. How the heck did we get on this? From Sage?
I don't know. That was good.
From Sage? All right. What else, Quinn? You said that you did your guanciale. You enjoyed it. By the way,
Yep.
I'm going to say, when I buy guanciale, for those of you that cured pig face, all right? Let's just be blunt about it.
Cheek.
What part of the body is the cheek on, Quinn?
Yeah, but I've done
It's cured pig face.
the whole face.
Okay. And what do you call that?
I've done the whole face.
Faciale. Anyway, but there are a bunch of different styles of it, right? And but they roughly, when I've had them, they either break into like a wetter style or a very dry style. And like the commercial available one in the United States is the most easily available one in New York City anyway is from a company called Volpe, which is like a big kind of company that makes like a bunch of cured meat products. And they make a wetter style. And I have to say I prefer the wetter style. I prefer a wetter, like balled up guanciale to a flatter, drier guanciale. That's just me though. Because what I like to do is like almost cook a pizza and then throw it on and just kind of flash it on the top of the pizza or in a pasta. I mean, guanciale is delicious, straight up delicious, but you barely need to cook that stuff when it's wet. Anyway, so which style do you make, the wet or the dry? Don't say in between. You have to choose one.
Bounced.
What?
Well, again, I don't know what the moisture loss on the two styles you're talking about. I hit like 25% moisture loss. And that's when I sort of call it done.
That is what people, how people judge, right? Like how they used to judge. How you would know so you'd weigh like something like a ham before and after. But in a guanciale, in order to understand what moisture loss means, you need to understand the actual fat content because you're not evaporating fat. So if you're losing if it's 50% fat and you lose 25% of the weight of the guanciale, well, really, like the meat has lost 50% of its moisture. Get me?
Yeah, but I'm saying I'm still calculating how much moisture is lost.
Well, let me see.
Relative to other pieces
of what?
Of guanciale.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's like what's going to control mostly the texture. I mean, the fat's going to get harder a bit because there's moisture in the fat as well, but the meat is going to be more affected. Do you cure it rolled or flat?
Flat.
All right, so it's going to be dry. It's going to be dry. How flexible is it? Can I take it and go on a table, or when you push a knife through it, does it kind of?
Probably closer to the first sound effect.
Yeah, so it's hard. He could have just said, I cure it dry. It's good. I like it like that. But like for things like that, I like to use it for where I like it to be kind of just soft and like unctuous. By the way, my wife, Jen, told me, because she doesn't think about food as much as I do, that when you're talking about people, think about this. When you talk about people, unctuous is an insult. It means kind of like you're slimy and oily. And I was like, that's weird because in food talk, unctuous usually means good. You know what I mean? So, like, when I say something's unctuous, she's like, ew, because she thinks it means that, like, you know, it's a slime ball or skis ball, some sort of creep. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, ooh, you know, like, got that, like, nice texture. Anyway, that's how I like guanciale. Unctuous. That's just me, though. To each their own.
And we did pizza on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't cook pizza anymore.
Fired up the gas oven. I've got one of the old Uni brand
Yeah.
pizza ovens.
Yeah, I stopped making pizza ever since Wiley opened his pizza restaurant. It's just like, why? What's the heartache? You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
yeah.
so why do it? You know what I'm saying? It's like, when you have someone in your family who makes something professionally, you just don't do it. It's like also like I don't make cocktails at home. Like, why? You know, it's like, no, I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't watch food TV. I don't make cocktails at home unless I'm doing, you know, work. Like if I'm like trying to develop a new cocktail, then I'll test them on people at home. But otherwise, I don't know. You know what I mean, Stas? You're with me on this, no?
Oh, I'm totally with you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you know, it's like I do like to cook at home, which is weird. You'd think I wouldn't like to cook at home, but I do like to cook at home. But like, I don't want to consume food as a professional thing or as a media thing or like what I do at the bar. I don't want to do that at home. It just doesn't, you know what I mean? Just give me a bottle of wine and call it a day. You know what I'm saying, Stas?
Yes. That's all I wanted to do with you in California, and instead you went really.
Well, then don't ask me to do
early.
work. We like, first of all, we don't have the money that we can just hang out. Like that's, you know, I mean, like we have to work like morons.
You know what sucks is that we got paid by Amazon the week after. I guess it was good because we would have went way too crazy if it had happened when we were together.
Yeah. Anyway, partially paid. We got to figure it out. Although someday we'll be able to tell you folks the entire saga of Amazon. Jack already had to leave, so I didn't get to bust him more on his hand rolls. I was going to bust him one more time on the hand rolls. You weren't on here, right, Stas? Last week when he was talking about you like a dog about getting mad at him on the hand rolls. So now you can have your say without him here.
No, I was here. No,
John wasn't here.
Yes,
Oh,
the
John
hand
wasn't
roll. The hand roll thing with Jack and I was really bad. He had a great time that night. I had a horrible time because we missed the thing I wanted to see. So
Was it Pauly Shore?
no, it was not.
Nastasia loves the Pauly Shore. I told you, Nastasia is going to start a new club in Los Angeles called Catch a Falling Star, where it's just like, you know, people from like Pauly Shore generation. You know what I mean? Like my generation.
That's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm throwing these dinner parties, which Dave's going to be a part of, and we have like all these old rock stars and stuff show up.
Catch a Falling Star. You going to call it that?
No.
You should get that Instagram. People would follow that Instagram.
That is bad. That is bad, and that's not what I want it to be.
All right. So before I forget, midway through the show, spins all. Also, if you're listening on Patreon, call in your questions to 917-410-1507. That's 917-410-1507. Quinn, why don't you tell them how they can join the Patreon and call into that number?
Yeah, they can go to patreon.com/cookingissues and join at any of the paid tiers, and that gets them access to the Patreon feed where you'll get live and early episodes of the show. You get prioritized when you submit questions. You'll get access to the Discord, which is filled with lots of like-minded people that are always discussing interesting things and also giving, feedback on problems people have. And, there's also deals we get with Kitchen Arts and Letters and various other related producers of food or food-related products.
All right. So, going back to what I was about to say before I did that, Spinzall 2.0s. By the way, I like the Spinzall 1.0. Spinzall 2.0, just a better machine all the way around. Clarifies better, stronger, faster, as I said earlier. But we have another shipment on the water right now. So monitors, they're big in the warehouse. So we're doing a clearing out inventory sale of the Spinzall 2.0 right now. You can have it instead of $11.99 instead of $11.99. What's the new price?
$8.50.
$8.50 is such a weird number. Couldn't it be like $849.99?
Well,
$849.99. That's $849.99. Get your Spinzall 2.0 now. Get them while they're cheap. Because I tell you what, I really don't know what the price is going to be because we're paying the big tariff on the next batch that's coming in. So get them
they will probably literally never be this inexpensive, from the source.
Yeah. But
Okay.
if you were on the fence and you're like, I don't know if I should get one, now's the time, right? Okay.
Or if you already have one and you need more.
They're like
If you're
potato
a bar,
chips.
or-
They're like potato chips. I was at the second best. Everyone knows I don't believe in best anything, but I was at what the Paradiso bar in Barcelona. What they think is the number 2 best bar in the world. Great bar, by the way. Fantastic time in Barcelona. And I went to their production lab afterwards, and they have a big centrifuge, right? The big one. And they're like, oh yeah, because we need this. We have a big production. I'm like, the truth of the matter is, take it from somebody who knows centrifuges, okay? There is no one in the bar world. I'm just saying, it's like I've done it longer and I build centrifuges, right? So it's like I know centrifuges, and it is more efficient to just own 4 Spinzalls than it is to own one big centrifuge, because what happens when your big centrifuge breaks? You're toast, right? And plus, in a Spinzall, you can do 4 different things at the same time, right? And, we also have new stuff coming out that's going to make it clarify in continuous mode better, et cetera, eventually. Like, it already does. It clarifies much the 2.0 clarifies faster than the 1.0, both of which work faster than the big centrifuges do for a variety of reasons that are too boring to get into now, but it has to do with fixed angle rotors versus, swinging buckets, blah, blah, blah. Although swinging bucket would be a good, country band, right? Sounds like a country band, like bluegrass, swinging buckets. Anyway, all right. Did I talk about the sale enough, Stas?
Yeah.
Yeah, but also it's like very limited time, because it's basically based on how much space we're able to clear. So if you're hearing this and you're considering it, double check Modernist Pantry and buy early if you want it.
All right, Liz Quinn. Don't say that you have to check. Just give me a ballpark number. How many do we have left in the current batch that we need to get rid of?
That I do not have in front of me.
Like roughly a billion or like 3? I think it's more on the order of like a couple hundred we have, right?
Yeah.
I would say it's a couple hundred.
Yeah, there you go. See? Ballpark. All right. So, question from Rob Lax. I've always bought branded sugar, the Domino's brand, which is made from sugar cane. Given that the price of Domino has roughly doubled in the past couple of years, you know what? Certain things have gone up out of proportion to how much they cost, because I'm looking at you, Diamond Kosher Salt. Diamond Kosher Salt, the actual stuff that we all use, they know that we like it. So they've quintupled the price. So Morton's trash can kosher salt is sitting right next to it, and it's gone up a little bit. It's gone up because of inflation. And Diamond's sitting there boop, boop. We know that you love us, so we're just going to hose you. And it's making me mad. But it's not like I'm going to switch, because my hands are geared to using Diamond. I've spent my entire adult life knowing how to reach into a container of Diamond Kosher Salt, pick it up, and use it to season things. And now I'm being punished for it, and I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy the new colors, I don't enjoy the new art on the box, and I definitely don't enjoy the new price. They can suck it. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. But I'm still going to use it. I'm not one of those guys who gets mad and then I'm going to boycott Diamond. Wow. I'm going to shoot myself in the foot. I'm going to use something that I don't like using. I can still afford it. It's like Mach 3 Gillette razors, right? When the Mach 3 came out, you were like, I'm not going to pay $10 for a razor. Razors are like $1. You know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, but it's marginally better. Plus you can afford it. So you are going to pay $10 for a freaking razor. And you're like, oh. And they were right. Jerks. You know what I mean?
No Tangent Tuesdays on cooking issues.
Yeah. All tangents all the time. Anyway, Rob has always bought Domino's, but given that the price has roughly doubled in the past couple of years, much like eggs, salt, flour, and all sorts of other things, I'm inclined to start buying the generic brands, which are sometimes half the price or less. Most of these off-brands don't say that they are quote-unquote cane sugar, and I'm assuming that's because they're made of less sexy sugar beets. I've been advised not to use beet sugar in making jam because it won't gel, although I've never put that to the test. Can I safely buy generic sugar for baking? Are there any applications where I should be more discerning about my sugar purchases and use only cane sugar? Hey, speaking of eggs, I'm not going to talk about the price of eggs, but I will say this. Trader Joe's, my local Trader Joe's, has given up on eggs entirely. They don't even have a section in the cold case anymore for eggs. They've put something else there, and they're like, that's how far in the future Trader Joe's eggs pricing is not working, because like their system is about that just in time, getting it really cheap. Remember, go re-listen to the episode of The Secret Lives of Groceries, which was a good episode we had. And like that's how Trader Joe's works. And so it's so bad that our Trader Joe's literally does not have a section for eggs anymore.
Dave, I have a question.
Yep.
I have a question. Why, if eggs have gone up, hasn't the entire chicken, like cutlets and things, also gone up?
That's a good question. It's a great question. Well, here's one theory. So when it's a theory though, I haven't looked it up, but when one chicken gets ill, because the avian flu is so fast, right? It's like such a fast, like, Ebola-like thing for chickens, right? That when one hen shows up positive or gets sick, they wipe out the entire hen house. Okay. Now, the chickens that you eat only live to be about 6 weeks old, so they don't have a lot of time to become sick, whereas like a laying hen is sitting there for probably, I forget what the number is, I used to know, it's like 1 or 2 years that they can be productive and lay roughly an egg a day or so, right? And so there's a lot longer time they have to get sick, right? And I don't know whether there's rules that they can't jack those things with as much kind of antibiotic. Well, the antibiotics aren't going to help with the virus anyway. But anyway, so that's my guess. It's just that the meat that we eat is so young that it has less of an overall impact than it would on laying hens. I don't know.
Is that the same for beef too?
Well, the beef, they don't have,
6 weeks, I'm kind of grossed out now.
Yeah, no, cows are much older. Cows are like almost a year probably. I forget the number. I used to know exactly, but it depends, right? Cows, you don't want them to get too old because then you have to worry about bovine spongiform encephalopathy. So there's kind of a maximum age that most of our cows are that isn't just determined by tenderness. Really, the slaughter age of cows, slaughter age of most animals is based on when it's no longer convenient to feed them, right? So a chicken gets to its best kind of feed conversion numbers at about 6.5 weeks, because they're these kind of it's a monstrosity, really. You know what I mean? So that's why they're so incredibly efficient, because they plump up real fast on not very much food, and if you continue to feed them, you're losing money. Then it's gross to say it that way, but you're losing money. With a cow, it takes longer to get to full size, then it has to marble out, right? And then as soon as that happens, basically, since most Americans are prizing tenderness, once they're not getting any more benefit out of feeding it, all animals, farm animals, sad to say, are killed as soon as they don't provide a benefit to feed them anymore, right? And so that's where all the numbers, come from. And that's part of the reason why, a lot of our cured pork can't have the same kind of flavor because there's reasons to keep, for instance, a pig alive longer in Spain when it's eating on the dehesa, eating acorns, than an American factory pig. And so, going back to Fidel Toldra, who wrote a lot of this early work on cured meats, the enzyme, the actual muscle meat of an older animal is different, and it has an impact on cured meats, for instance. So, there's a reason other than just genetics and feed that, for instance, Beyota Fed Iberico pigs are so good. It's also they're slightly older, Anywho, back to Rob's question on cane sugar. Look, there is a difference between cane sugar and beet sugar, right? But the actual sugar molecules themselves are the same. They are identical. You're talking about like very small amounts of impurities in the margin. And a lot of the impurities that are in these sugars are what they call like higher molecular weight things that are hard to like kind of take out of the crystals because they kind of co-solidify in the crystals. And right off the top of the bat, one of the things that's slightly different, and maybe this is what the jelly people are talking about, I don't know, is that beet sugar is ever so slightly more basic than cane sugar. Because remember, when you're purifying sugar, right, they heat it. And if you heat sugar and it's acidic at all, the sugar will invert. And if the sugar inverts, it doesn't crystallize. It's not sucrose anymore. It's a mixture of fructose and glucose. So they do anything they can to prevent sugar inversion. So you cannot have it acidic, right? Because any acidic environment, especially plus heat, equals sugar inversion. And to prevent inversion, beet sugar is usually slightly more basic than the cane sugar. So that could have an effect. For instance, I would guess, I don't know this, that probably beet sugar, if you don't add anything to it, might caramelize first, because a more basic thing is going to brown faster than a less alkaline thing. The other thing is that beet sugar is known to, back in the day, have more things in it that when you were making, for instance, drinks, that they could throw a flock, right? So especially in acidic drinks later on down the line, you could get a slight haze or throw a flock off if you used beet sugar. I don't think that there's any sort of anti-gelling thing in a beet sugar that's going to make it gel. I mean, it's like I say, perhaps if you're on that very edge, on the border of like the amount of acid needed to set a jelly, because remember, pectin needs the acid to set, right? And so I guess it's possible that it needs slightly more acid, but I can't think of anything that would stop that from happening. Someone also did some research. It was interesting. I will tell you, it is sensory differences between beet and cane sugar sources from the Journal of Food Science in 2014, where people can tell the difference in taste tests where you're just eating the sugar, but those taste tests go away when your nose is held. But remember, you're talking about weeny little differences in the in the impurities that are in it. Covered, smothered,
covered and smothered.
Yep.
All right. Kev from Copenhagen writes in, hey, what's up? Trying to make goat cream out of goat milk. The literature and empirical evidence documents that goat milk comes out naturally homogenized. Have a bucket centrifuge here that goes to 4,500 RPM. Remember, though, in a swinging bucket, you can't you can't correlate RPM of a centrifuge to what it's going to do, and you can't correlate even G-forces to what's going to happen. It's really centrifuge by centrifuge. So like a fixed angle rotor versus a swinging bucket rotor, and it has to do with the how the liquids move around in the centrifuge, and also how far the impurities have to travel in a centrifuge to settle out, and that's kind of why they're different. So it's like you can never really do apples and apples. So you really need to just run tests in different centrifuges. That's just an aside. I have a bucket centrifuge here that goes to 4,500 RPM, but from what I've read, cream separators loosely resemble the Spinzall. Has anyone had luck separating goat milk in a Spinzall? If not, what do you reckon the time/RPM setting should be on my bucket centrifuge to separate cream, but not churn that cream into butter at the same time? All right. I don't think you're going to – Spinzalls don't – so I used to own a milk separator. And by the way, Kevin, you can buy milk separators fairly cheaply. But the way that milk separators work is they're not like a Spinzall. They're like a bunch of discs, stacked discs. And you feed the stuff in, and the discs kind of throw out the product to the edge of the disc, and then the stuff migrates between the discs, and you take off the stuff at the top and at the bottom. And the stuff that comes off the top is enriched in cream, and the stuff that comes off, or enriched in fat, I should say, and the stuff that comes off of the bottom is enriched in or deep, I guess it's more skim. It's closer to skim. And based on the feed rate that you take out of the top, right, then that's going to determine, or out of the bottom, depending on how they control it, that's going to determine exactly like how much separation happens, how close you are to skim, how close you are to cream. Those things tend not to churn because they're continuous base centrifuges, but they're disc separations. In a Spinzall, the cream is going to float up to the surface and then it's going to compact. It turns into a butter-like thing. However, I haven't tested it. I don't believe that the emulsion is reversed. So I think, and we should run this test, Oz, it's actually not a bad test. I think you can resuspend the fat that you get on a Spinzall, the quote-unquote butter, which is really, I think, just like a hard cream. I think you could resuspend it and make it back into cream. But this is a test we should run, right, guys?
Yeah. So basically, you could almost make, depending on how concentrated the pseudo butter gets, you could almost make any percentage cream up to that point.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
Yeah. One thing I will say, Kev, is that I looked at the numbers and the individual fat globules in goat milk. So what determines whether something is homogenized is the fat globule size. And they are much smaller than in cow milk. However, and some of them are sub-micron. So in general, like a micron is, I believe, 1,000th of a millimeter, and 1 micron is about the colloidal size. So when things get below a micron, then you're, in general, this is a lot of caveats, but in general, you're in the colloidal range where it's going to stay homogenized. And if it's above 1 micrometer, then eventually, probably, unless you heavily stabilize it, like with, stabilizers, it's going to settle out. And so goat milk, it ranges from about 0.73, which would be probably colloidal, up to 8.6 micrometers. So some of the stuff is colloidal and some of it's not. So you should get some creaming, and you should be able to get the stuff to coalesce. All right? Whereas, by the way, in cow milk, unhomogenized cow milk, is 0.92, so colloidal, up to 15.75, so much bigger, like almost twice as big a size of fat globules. And the bigger something is, the more it wants to settle out. That's just how it works. All right, we got that? Was that good? Did I finish that? All right.
Yeah, wait. I wanted to tell you that I met this an artist, who told me that he is a king of carbonation. I was like, no,
yeah.
I don't think so.
What makes this person believe that they are the king of carbonation? In what way?
So they had something at Rockaway Beach where they carbonated grain alcohol and then dropped Adderalls into it and served them. And I was like,
I think this person is the king of bad ideas, but maybe not the king of carbonating. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I was like, have you used this Spinzall? And he was like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, have you like mixed juice with your alcohol? And he's like, no. And then it just didn't go well. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, like nightmare. Do you remember that time, Stas, that we did the like 47, like the bottle proof 47 ABV gin and tonics, and how wrecked people got?
Oh yeah. Wait, was that because Cliff didn't dilute it?
Well, no, that was a different. This is the one where we actually went to Restaurant Taylor, and we did that like little event, and we wheeled our chiller on. So for those of you that don't know, even though we pay the most immense taxes in New York City of anywhere, they think it's quaint for us to have cobblestone streets down in Soho. And if you've ever tried to wheel like laboratory equipment, we wheeled a freaking rotovap and like all the chilling stuff over this cobblestone. It's like, and like we got it there, and yeah, remember we served those little shots that we had Ellen chilled all this stuff down. People got wrecked.
Yeah,
it was good though.
Wrecked.
Yeah, I've never served those things again. This is a bad idea. To crush Addy in it, I mean, come on, please. Scott writes in, hey, Dave, don't know if you've answered this problem yet, but you mentioned a gentian thing you had to solve at the bar. And the problem is that certain bitter compounds, for instance, what's in Campari. We think it's maybe the gentian. If you add acid to it and then let it sit overnight, it becomes more bitter. I wrote in a few years ago about jungle birds, and they seem to compound bitterness when you add the lime juice. If you taste jungle birds base by itself, it's super sweet and not bitter, and the lime juice isn't that bitter by itself. Combining the two makes a drink that's more bitter than the sum of its parts. I found a study on carryover effect of bitter pears. And do you notice that when paired together, different bitter compounds affect each other and make things taste more bitter than they originally are? Yeah, no, it happens, but I think bitter is incredibly complicated, and it depends on individual people, how they're going to react to it, because some people can taste certain bitter compounds and other people can't. They have different reactions to it, and even, regardless of what you can taste chemically, right? Like what your genes allow you to taste, we also have different thresholds for bitterness, right? That are mentally, that you can mentally get, accustomed to or not. So, yes, it is complicated but for us, the issue wasn't that when you added lime, it instantly got more bitter. It's that the bitterness changed over time. And so that's what we're trying to figure out, kind of what happens. Also, Scott says, for nitrogen infusing into cocktails. Now, I'm going to stop here. Be careful. Be careful. Okay, so you're saying that the best product that you've used is this thing called Nitro Infuser from Enhanced Beverage Solutions, and what it is, it's a block where you put gas in one side, liquid in the other, and you get basically Guinness style widgeted stuff on the other side. And we have another question about this later. We'll get to in a minute. But when you say nitrogen infusing, you please always be more precise. So what you mean is you're putting pressurized nitrogen into a drink such that when you depressurize it, you get tiny micro bubbles that create that kind of rolling head look, right? And that'll happen regardless of whether the thing is carbonated or not. But when you say things like nitrogen infusing, people get confused and think that you can use nitrogen to do infusion. In other words, make an infused liquor with nitrogen, and that you do with nitrous. So I just there needs to be a little more precision in language so that people don't get confused about what's actually going on, because people always think when I say nitrous, people are like, you mean nitrogen? I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know the difference. You know what I mean? So it's always be, and it's not helped by the fact that the word nitro can mean either nitrogen or nitrous oxide, depending on who the heck you're talking to, and the whole world needs to just stop talking this way. You know what I mean? I don't know what the answer is, and I'm going to lose on this the same way I lost with sous vide. But anyway, Mike C says, I want to try baking semolina-based breads, but the readily available product near me is the more coarsely ground stuff from Bob's Red Mill. Is there a way for me to bake with this? I was thinking about a long autolyzed step would be a good start. Curious to get your thoughts. Thanks. Well, I don't know about Bob's Red Mill semolina versus your stuff. The main issue with semolina is that semolina doesn't have any fines in it, and it doesn't have a lot of damaged or broken starch. It's really just like purified wheat, almost it's semolina, right? So they're almost little rocks. So I don't know the difference. I'd have to send me the brand that you normally do and Bob's Red Mill, but you need a longer hydration because it needs to get in. Remember, the whole point. One of the whole points of semolina is that it does not absorb a lot of water for its protein level because there's not a lot of damaged starch in it. That's one of the things it does. Zev says,
I was going to say, for Mike C, I would look online for semola, which is the proper labeling for a fine durum wheat flour.
Well, it's not flour. So flour is flour and semolina is semolina, right? So
I think semola is if you find a bag that says semola, not semolina, it's usually durum flour. That is fine.
Yeah, but does Mike want durum flour? Or does Mike want semolina? One's going to have damaged starch and fines, and one is not. Right? So you need to determine whether you want to have... There's coarseness of grind, and then there's whether there are fines in it or not. right? So when you're anyway, hold on,
Yeah.
I got to answer these other two questions. Zev says, I just made a pot of chicken stock, and after refrigerating it for a day, found no solid layer of fat at the surface. That has never happened to me before. I don't recall the chickens being particularly lean, but they have been cut up by the butcher, and I was in a rush getting into the pot, so I can't remember. The only thing I can think is that I concentrated it quite a bit. I boiled it down. You can emulsify. If you look at like old Chinese stock techniques, they have like emulsified stocks where they just boil it hard, and the hard boiling, along with the stuff that's coming out of the bones, can emulsify it. But I would still think you would get some fat layer on the top. So maybe anyone on the Discord, why don't you write in what your experiences are? Because I only have made emulsified stocks, like Chinese style emulsified stocks a couple of times. So someone like write in, let me know what you guys think, and we'll talk more about it next week. Doc Molotov says he wants to get a nitro press, and it basically is talking about like putting nitrous into gas, into liquids, like we were talking. Yes, but I believe it just concentrates air, and I don't think if you're not storing it for a long time that the extra oxygen is going to be a problem. So I think you're going to be fine. And we got through all the questions, cooking issues.